The United States is currently experiencing the most severe wave of retail store shutdowns since the end of World War II. In just the past year alone, over 3,200 retail locations have disappeared, including stores from major names like Walmart, Walgreens, and Best Buy. And according to current projections, that figure could easily double before we even reach the middle of 2026. If you're living in states like Florida, Texas, or California, this is something you'll want to pay close attention to. The next round of store closures may hit much closer to home than you expect, affecting your job security, the prices you pay, and even the makeup of your local community. Behind the scenes, major retail corporations are steadily swapping out human workers for AI systems, slashing expensive rental agreements, and moving their business almost entirely online. In this video, I'm going to break down the 10 largest retailers in America that are actively closing stores, explain what's really driving these decisions, and show you what it means for you. Make sure you watch all the way to the end, because that's when I'll reveal the name of the company quietly planning what could become the largest layoff in the United States in 2026. 10. Walmart, the giant that's pulling back. Walmart, long seen as the ultimate symbol of the American shopping experience, is going through one of the most surprising chapters in its more than 50-year history. Across the country, from Chicago and Portland to Albuquerque and San Diego, shoppers are starting to see something that once felt unthinkable. Walmart store closure signs becoming a regular sight. And when even Walmart starts shutting doors, it raises a troubling question: who can actually survive? What makes this situation even more shocking is that Walmart isn't failing financially. In fact, the company still brings in over $600 billion in annual revenue, making it one of the most profitable retailers on the planet. But behind that massive headline number is a sprawling network of more than 4,600 stores, many of which are under intense and growing pressure. In working-class neighborhoods, once the backbone of Walmart's success, sales have dropped sharply as the cost of living continues to climb. Families are spending less, visiting stores less often, and walking out with smaller carts than ever before. Shoppers are also shifting their purchasing power toward cheaper online platforms, forcing Walmart to confront a difficult truth. Some locations simply no longer generate enough income to stay open. And that's just the most visible part of the problem. Beneath the surface, a much more serious issue has been steadily eating away at the company's foundation: retail theft. Walmart's CEO has openly warned that if theft continues at its current pace, the company will have no choice but to shut down even more stores. According to data from the National Retail Federation, retailers across the United States lost more than $112 billion to theft in 2023 alone, a nearly 20% jump compared to just 2 years earlier. In many cities, police departments are stretched thin, and laws that overlook theft under $1,000 make enforcement even harder. As a result, some Walmart locations, especially in urban areas, aren't closing because they lack customers, but because the cost of security has become impossible to sustain. At the same time, Walmart is undergoing a massive transformation behind the scenes. The company is pouring billions of dollars into artificial intelligence, warehouse robotics, and automated distribution systems in an effort to compete head-to-head with online giants like Amazon. Its entire supply chain is being rebuilt, with the most efficient stores converted into hybrid hubs that serve both in-store shoppers and online delivery orders. The future Walmart model is clear: fewer locations but faster, smarter, and far more technologically advanced. Still, when a Walmart closes, the impact on local communities is immediate and painful. Each shutdown eliminates hundreds of jobs, strips small towns of a major shopping hub, and slows the local economy almost overnight. For many people, Walmart isn't just a place to buy affordable groceries. It's a routine, a workplace, and a familiar part of life that's been there for 20 or even 30 years. When those doors finally close, it's not just a store disappearing. It's a piece of the community's shared history being erased. Yet when you look deeper, this isn't necessarily a collapse. It's a calculated retreat. Walmart is actively testing new strategies, from AI-powered distribution centers and highly automated stores to ultra-fast delivery services measured in minutes, not days. They're not going under. They're reshaping how Americans shop. And it's during this quiet transition, where speed, technology, and trust matter more than square footage, that Walmart may be positioning itself for an entirely new era of retail survival. So how would you feel if this started happening in your own neighborhood? 9. Amazon Fresh. When the future stalls. Imagine a checkout-free system shutting down because the machine runs out of battery halfway through the day. It sounds like a sci-fi glitch, but for hundreds of Amazon Fresh employees recently laid off in California, Washington, and Illinois, this isn't the future. It's their harsh reality. Stores that were once celebrated for having no cashiers and no checkout lines are now sitting dark and silent, with locked doors, empty shelves, and closure signs hanging in the windows. What was once marketed as a revolutionary leap forward has instead become a symbol of ambition that moved too fast. Amazon promised to reinvent the way Americans shop for groceries. To make that happen, the company poured billions of dollars into its Just Walk Out technology, a system designed to let customers grab what they want and leave while cameras and AI automatically handle payment. But that vision fell apart for one simple reason: cost. The advanced sensors and AI-powered camera networks required millions of dollars every year just to operate. At the same time, revenue dropped as shoppers drifted back to cheaper, more familiar grocery stores. By 2024, Amazon's grocery division was losing more than $700 million annually, forcing leadership to cut jobs and shut down locations that couldn't justify their expenses. Shopping centers that were once busy and full of promise now sit nearly empty. Ironically, many of the employees who believed automation would replace human workers ended up being the first ones pushed out. The truth is, most Americans aren't ready to shop in a fully camera-monitored supermarket. People still want to feel products in their hands, speak with store employees, ask about deals, and shop without being tracked every step of the way. No amount of smart technology can rescue a model that ignores how people actually want to shop. And that's why Amazon Fresh's checkout-free experiment has been forced to slow down. Now, Amazon is pivoting toward a hybrid approach, scaling back extreme automation and refocusing on a more human-centered shopping experience. Still, this story carries a clear warning. No company, not even Amazon, can move faster than consumer demand. If you've seen an Amazon Fresh store close near where you live, share how it affected your neighborhood. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because the next story is even more surprising. 8. Foot Locker. From the fast lane to a dead end. There was a time when stepping into a Foot Locker felt almost sacred for sneaker fans. Whenever a new pair of Nike Air or Adidas Yeezy dropped, crowds lined up outside the store like it was a ceremony, waiting patiently for their moment inside. Today, that image lives only in memory. In 2025, Foot Locker officially announced the shutdown of more than 400 locations across North America, with most of the closures hitting major shopping malls, the very spaces that once fueled the brand's success. Over just 2 years, company revenue fell by more than 30%. But what truly surprised industry analysts was something deeper. Younger shoppers simply stopped caring about buying sneakers in physical stores. Instead, they shop online, trade pairs through Discord communities, and search for deals on platforms like StockX. The sneaker culture didn't disappear, it evolved. And Foot Locker was left trailing behind as the market changed direction. At the start of 2025, Foot Locker's CEO, Mary Dillon, summed up the problem during an internal meeting with a brutally honest admission: "We don't lack customers, we lack a reason for them to walk into the store." That single sentence felt like a quiet confession that the traditional retail playbook no longer works. While expenses for rent, insurance, and staffing continue to climb, foot traffic has dropped by more than 40% compared to 2019. In cities like Los Angeles and New York, multiple locations were forced to shut down permanently because sales could no longer justify the rent. The irony is hard to ignore. Foot Locker, once a defining force in American sneaker culture, is now being overtaken by the very culture it helped create. Young consumers no longer need a physical store to feel connected. They watch reviews on TikTok, shop directly through apps, and use AI-powered bots to hunt down rare releases. Convenience slowly replaced emotion, and that's how an iconic brand can fade away without a dramatic collapse. Just quiet closures and empty storefronts. Do you remember the first pair of shoes you ever bought at Foot Locker? Leave a comment and share that memory, because moments like that may soon exist only as reminders of a retail era that's already slipping into history. And don't forget to subscribe, because after Foot Locker, the next retail giant on this list may surprise you even more. 7. CVS Pharmacy, a healthcare giant. Losing ground. For decades, CVS Pharmacy felt untouchable, a red and white fixture on American street corners that seemed impossible to replace. Now, that image is cracking. With more than 9,000 locations nationwide, CVS is facing the most severe challenge in its history, and the signs are starting to show in neighborhoods across the country. When CEO Karen Lynch publicly warned that the retail pharmacy industry must reinvent itself or risk disappearing, many people began to notice something unsettling. Familiar CVS storefronts were quietly vanishing. This crisis isn't driven by online competition alone. CVS is being squeezed from every direction by soaring operating expenses, rising rent, higher employee healthcare costs, and widespread in-store theft that drains millions of dollars from revenue each month. At the same time, consumer behavior is shifting fast. More Americans are ordering prescriptions through online pharmacies and telehealth apps, causing foot traffic inside physical stores to drop sharply. According to recent plans, CVS intends to shut down more than 900 locations across the United States over the next 3 years. In major cities like San Francisco, Chicago, and Philadelphia, entire branches now sit empty, windows boarded up, with for-lease signs hanging where busy pharmacies once stood. Every closure comes with a human cost. Dozens of employees lose their jobs each time a store shuts down, many of them longtime workers who spent more than a decade serving their communities. Local residents feel the impact just as deeply, especially seniors who rely on daily prescription medications. With nearby CVS locations gone, many are forced to travel farther or switch to home delivery services. But even that solution has its flaws. Delivery fees continue to rise, and customer service delays have left many patients frustrated and waiting longer than ever for essential medications. CVS, once viewed as a symbol of accessible American healthcare, has become a clear example of how traditional retail struggles to survive under the combined pressure of technology shifts and rising operational costs. The question now is whether this giant can adapt fast enough before even more locations go dark. If you've seen a CVS store close in your area, or had trouble getting medications because of it, leave a comment below. We read every single one. 6. Best Buy. From tech paradise to digital quicksand. There was a time when weekends at Best Buy felt like a celebration of the future. Families and tech lovers poured through the doors, drawn in by glowing 4K televisions, the layered hum of Bose and Sony speakers, and the unmistakable scent of brand new laptops fresh out of the box. It was a place where people didn't just shop for technology, they experienced it firsthand. At its peak, Best Buy stood as the largest consumer electronics powerhouse in the United States, operating more than 1,500 stores and generating over $50 billion in annual revenue. But the future it once proudly showcased became the very force that began to dismantle it. As online giants like Amazon and eBay surged in popularity, shoppers developed a new habit: test products at Best Buy, then purchase them online for less. This behavior, known as showrooming, quietly transformed Best Buy into the largest unpaid display room for Amazon. The company tried to push back with price-matching guarantees and expanded Geek Squad service counters, but profits remained painfully thin while the cost of running massive physical stores kept climbing. Between 2020 and 2024, Best Buy shut down more than 400 locations across the country, eliminating thousands of jobs in the process. In regions like the Midwest and California, once busy shopping malls now sit eerily quiet, with dusty storefronts and for-lease signs hanging like open scars. A longtime employee in Illinois summed it up bluntly: "We used to proudly introduce customers to the first generation of the iPhone. Now I end up directing them to buy online because the store doesn't even carry enough models anymore." With e-commerce and artificial intelligence reshaping the market, Best Buy is now trying to reinvent itself as a provider of tech support, smart home installation, and subscription-based services. But the real question remains: will that shift be enough to keep the brand alive? And this dilemma isn't just about Best Buy. It reflects an entire generation of American companies that once believed face-to-face selling would never change. So what about you? Do you still buy electronics in physical stores, or has everything become just another tap on a screen? Leave a comment and let me know. 5. Walgreens, a giant. cutting itself in half. For decades, the red and white Walgreens sign was a constant presence in American neighborhoods. It was the place you stopped for prescriptions, a carton of milk, or even just to print a few photos. Now, many people return after a short time away only to find locked doors, dark interiors, and for lease signs hanging behind dusty windows. A longtime employee in Chicago told CBS, "We don't need announcements anymore. When inventory starts shrinking, you know your store is next." After 14 years on the job, she was laid off. Not because of poor performance, but because Walgreens is shutting down more than 2,100 locations nationwide as part of a survival strategy to reduce losses. Once a fierce rival to CVS, Walgreens now finds itself trapped between rising operating costs, aggressive online competition, and rapidly changing shopping habits. Since the pandemic, fewer people visit stores for everyday items like vitamins or toothpaste. Instead, many now order everything with a few clicks through platforms like Amazon. At the same time, widespread shoplifting in cities such as San Francisco and Portland has drained millions of dollars from Walgreens' revenue every quarter. The breaking point came in 2024 when the company's CEO publicly acknowledged that the traditional Walgreens store model no longer works in many locations. That admission felt like a final blow to a system that once operated more than 9,000 active stores across the country. Many of the closures have hit low-income neighborhoods especially hard, places where Walgreens was often the last remaining pharmacy. When those stores disappear, residents are forced to travel dozens of miles just to fill basic prescriptions. For seniors and people with chronic illnesses, the alternative is mail delivery, which isn't always reliable. In some cases, medications arrive 3 to 5 days late, delays that can carry serious consequences. Once seen as a healthcare lifeline for entire communities, Walgreens is now cutting into its own foundation just to stay afloat. And the greatest cost isn't being paid by shareholders. It's being carried by longtime employees, loyal customers, and small towns that depended on those stores for decades. Do you still have a Walgreens open near you? Or has it closed like so many others? Share your experience in the comments, because your story may be the clearest snapshot of what's happening across America today. 4. Kroger, a supermarket. Choking on rising costs. Kroger, the second-largest grocery chain in the United States behind Walmart, still operates more than 2,700 stores nationwide. On the surface, the lights are on and the shelves are stocked. But behind the scenes, the company is fighting for survival. In 2025 alone, Kroger either closed or merged more than 100 locations, with the hardest hits landing in California, Illinois, and Washington. In those states, soaring wages, higher taxes, and rapidly increasing operating expenses have pushed many stores to the breaking point. Data from Coresight Research shows just how tight things have become. Kroger's net profit fell by 7.8% in the second quarter of 2025, while employee health insurance costs jumped nearly 22% compared to the previous year. At the same time, federal scrutiny has made things worse. Ongoing investigations by the Federal Trade Commission into Kroger's proposed merger with Albertsons have stalled expansion plans, adding even more financial strain. Consumer habits are also shifting fast. Many middle-class Americans are cutting back on fresh food purchases and moving toward lower-cost alternatives like Aldi and Dollar General. To keep up, Kroger has begun transforming many of its locations into stripped-down, low-cost hybrid stores. That shift includes fewer staffed checkout lanes, reduced employee hours, and a heavier reliance on self-checkout systems. Speaking at a press conference in August 2025, Kroger CEO Rodney McMullen summed up the challenge clearly. Consumers aren't just demanding lower prices, they're changing how they live, shop, and prioritize spending. And that shift is shaking the foundation of the traditional supermarket model. Industry experts are now warning that if grocery chains fail to restructure quickly, the United States could see the largest wave of supermarket closures since the 2008 financial crisis. So what about you? Are you still shopping at traditional grocery stores? Or have you moved to online ordering and cheaper alternatives? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you think what's happening across the U.S. retail and restaurant sector is something worth watching closely. 3. Macy's. When an American luxury icon is liquidated. For more than 100 years, Macy's was woven into the fabric of American life. Every holiday season, families gathered around the Thanksgiving parade in New York, then wandered through glowing store floors, choosing outfits for Christmas dinners and special nights out. Macy's didn't just sell clothing. It sold tradition, nostalgia, and the feeling of an era that seemed permanent. Today, that vision is unraveling fast. In 2025, Macy's announced plans to shut down more than 150 stores, eliminate 2,300 jobs, and even consider selling off valuable real estate simply to keep cash flowing. Over the past 3 years, company revenue has fallen by roughly 25%. Stock prices have dropped more than 60%, and malls that once depended on Macy's to drive foot traffic now sit surrounded by empty parking lots. But the real story isn't found in financial reports. It's felt behind locked doors. A longtime employee in Ohio recalled the moment their store sign was removed. People cried that day, not just because they were losing their jobs, but because it felt like America was saying goodbye to part of its past. Macy's didn't fall because of a single rival. It struggled because it believed its customers would never change. While platforms like Amazon, Shine, and Temu offered lower prices and doorstep delivery, Macy's clung to an aging luxury identity, until rising costs made that strategy impossible to sustain. Now, former flagship locations in cities such as Chicago and Los Angeles are being transformed into apartments, offices, and co-working spaces. A brand that once defined Black Friday has become part of its own final clearance. So what do you think? Can Macy's reinvent itself? Or is it time to admit that the golden age of shopping malls has come to an end? Share your thoughts in the comments below. 2. Subway. When the sandwich empire loses its flavor. There was a time when Subway represented fast food with a healthier image. Back in the 2010s, its green and yellow signs were everywhere, on city corners, near schools, inside strip malls, and the smell of freshly baked bread drifted through the air. Subway felt familiar, affordable, and everywhere you turned. Today, that scent has quietly faded. After years of scandals, branding missteps, and internal mismanagement, Subway is shrinking faster than almost anyone expected. In 2024 alone, more than 400 locations shut down. And according to Bloomberg, over 2,000 additional stores could disappear within the next 3 years. This is a dramatic fall for a company that was once the largest restaurant chain in the world by store count, surpassing even McDonald's. Subway's biggest mistake wasn't competition, it was overexpansion. The brand franchised aggressively, opening locations in gas stations, college campuses, airports, and nearly any space available, often without consistent quality control. When sales began to drop, small franchise owners were left struggling. Many pleaded for relief, but the parent company offered little support. One franchise owner in Florida explained it bluntly. "I used to sell more than 200 sandwiches a day. Now I barely move 60. Franchise fees went up, and we're the ones absorbing the losses." At the same time, American consumers have changed how and where they eat. People now want food that feels genuinely fresh, locally branded, and less corporate. Long chains no longer hold the same appeal they once did. Subway, however, kept clinging to its old identity, rolling out repeated Eat Fresh campaigns without meaningfully updating its menu or customer experience. The result was predictable: declining customer traffic, weaker quality standards, and a sharp loss of trust. As Subway locations vanish, many are being replaced by newer competitors like Jersey Mike's and Firehouse Subs. Brands seen as more flexible, more personal, and better tuned to what customers actually want. An empire that once boasted more than 40,000 stores worldwide is now steadily contracting, shrinking away like the cold sandwiches left behind in empty display cases. So think back. When was the last time you ate at Subway? Or did you already switch to another brand without even noticing? Share your story in the comments below. I want to hear from you. 1. Red Lobster. When a seafood celebration turns into a collapse. If you've spent enough time in the United States, the name Red Lobster likely brings back memories of family dinners, sizzling seafood platters, and the unmistakable smell of butter melting over lobster tails. For decades, it stood as one of the most recognizable names in American casual dining. Today, that legacy has taken a dramatic turn. In May 2024, Red Lobster officially filed for bankruptcy protection, shutting down more than 100 restaurants across the country. And what stunned many observers wasn't a lack of customers. It was the company being undone by its own promotion. Yes, the all-you-can-eat shrimp deal. In an attempt to lure diners back during a period of high inflation, Red Lobster rolled out unlimited shrimp as a value offer. It was supposed to be a lifeline. Instead, it became a financial disaster. Guests showed up in large numbers, but soaring seafood prices, razor-thin margins, and declining brand loyalty meant the math simply didn't work. According to an internal report, the company was losing money on every shrimp plate served, turning high traffic into deeper losses. From that point on, the cracks spread quickly. Major Thai investors pulled out. Thousands of employees were laid off. And once iconic locations in cities like Orlando, Houston, and Phoenix now sit dark, with "for lease" signs hanging where crowds once gathered. Industry analysts say Red Lobster's collapse is a brutal warning for the entire American restaurant sector. The age of cheap, unlimited dining is over. Today's consumers are eating less, making more deliberate choices, and rarely staying loyal to a single brand for long. The old formula that once powered massive restaurant chains no longer guarantees survival. Have you ever eaten at Red Lobster? Or do you believe the era of big chains offering low prices has officially ended in the US? Share your thoughts below. I genuinely want to hear your experience. And when you step back and look at the full picture, from Walmart and Walgreens to Macy's and Red Lobster, it becomes clear this isn't just about a handful of stores closing. This is a deeper shift happening across America. People are shopping online. Operating costs are exploding. Retail crime is rising. Together, these forces are wiping out business models that dominated for generations. Still, every crisis creates opportunity. Empty storefronts will turn into small businesses, fulfillment centers, or entirely new startups. Retail isn't disappearing. It's being reshaped into something leaner, faster, and far less forgiving. So now I'll ask you, who do you think will be the next giant to fall? Leave a comment below. I'll choose some of the most insightful ones to feature in the next video. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because next week we're diving into the 5 US cities losing jobs the fastest in 2025. The retail apocalypse isn't on the way. It's already happening.